Deep in the Amazon, where no map reaches this far, 6 men, 1 fire, rubber tappers, miles away from anyone who could ever hear them scream. The jungle never sleeps. Every night, insects fill the darkness with an endless chorus. Out here, that's the sound of life itself. Then, it stops. Every single sound gone, as if the entire forest inhaled and held its breath. One man slowly looks up from the fire. Nobody says a word. Then, the smell reaches them. Rotting meat, wet fur, something dead walking. One man gags. Another instinctively grips his rifle. Branches begin to snap, not the small ones. Whole trees bend, crack, and give way. Footsteps, heavy, slow, deliberate, getting closer. One man raises his rifle toward the solid black wall of jungle. His finger trembles on the trigger, but the oldest tapper reaches out, grasps the hot barrel, and slowly pushes it down. He already knows. A bullet won't kill whatever is out there. It will only make it notice them. Then, it answers. A roar, deep enough to shake water from the leaves, close enough to feel inside their chests. They still don't know what's hiding in the darkness. But now, they know one thing. They are not the hunters tonight. The locals have a name for it. Not an animal, a nightmare. The Mapinguari. Long before 1912, long before any white man ever wrote a single word about the Amazon, the tribes already knew. They didn't tell campfire stories about the Mapinguari. They stood watch for it. They built their villages around avoiding it. This wasn't folklore. This was survival. They always described the fur first. Matted, red-brown, thick, like a curtain of dead grass, crawling with insects that even the jungle refuses to touch. Then, the feet, backward. Every footprint it leaves points the wrong way. Follow the tracks forward, and you're already walking straight toward it. The jungle itself lies to you. Then comes the part they never say out loud. They only whisper it. A second mouth, not on its face, lower, across its stomach, where no mouth should ever be. It splits open when it feeds. Jagged teeth, uneven, packed far too tightly together. Black bile drips from the edges, thick, like tar. They say it doesn't chew. It doesn't have to. It simply opens. Modern scientists, sitting in air-conditioned offices thousands of miles away, looked at these stories and wrote just one word: extinct. An ancient ground sloth, nothing more. Case closed. They never asked the people who actually live in that darkness. The people who still leave someone on watch every single night. They never needed a museum to tell them what was real. The 1930s. Brazil. Rubber camps kept losing men. And eventually, the government took notice. They sent an expedition, just one zoologist, a man trained to trust evidence, not fear. He spent 6 weeks deep inside that stretch of jungle, cataloging tracks, interviewing survivors, writing everything down inside a worn leather notebook. That notebook isn't displayed in any museum today. It sits inside a private archive. The author's name, heavily redacted by the Brazilian Ministry of Agriculture. His early entries are clinical, careful, detached, exactly what you'd expect from a scientist doing his job. But then, they begin to change. He writes about the smell first, a foul, musk-like odor, clinging to the air around the kill sites. Not the smell of decay. Something secreted, something deliberate. Then he begins asking a question that no one seems willing to answer. What if the second mouth isn't actually a mouth? His theory, written in his own words. A glandular slit, a mutation that formed across the abdomen of what was once an ordinary ground sloth, not for feeding, for releasing. A thick, black musk, so foul, it drops onto the skin and shuts the body down. Paralysis first, then whatever comes next comes easily. Prey that can't run, can't fight, can't even scream properly. He wrote one word twice in the margins, then circled it: paralytic. 3 days after his final journal entry, government officials arrived at the camp, not scientists. Officials. The journal was confiscated, filed away, sealed. The official cause of death? Jaguar attacks. Every single one. Clean, simple, nothing that would keep a city bureaucrat awake at night. The zoologist signed the report himself, under whose orders no one has ever confirmed. He never published another paper. Years later, when copies of his private journal finally began to surface, the scientific community didn't rush to investigate it. They rushed to dismiss it. No peer review, no laboratory confirmation, just the field notes of a dead man. They said, not science. Convenient that the only document describing something evolution struggles to explain ends up buried beneath a technicality. Maybe it really was just one frightened man, alone for too long in the darkness, trying to make sense of a jaguar attack. Or maybe the neat timeline we've been given, the one where every species is cataloged, every mutation understood, and every corner of this planet already mapped, only stays intact because no one is allowed to publish the discoveries that don't fit. What else has been quietly filed away, stamped, forgotten? What else are we not supposed to find? Satellites can see everything now. At least, that's what we're told. Google Earth, drone mapping, every inch of this planet, cataloged, zoomed, pinned. Except, the Amazon doesn't work that way. The canopy above is so thick, so dense, that sunlight barely reaches the forest floor. Entire tribes still live beneath it, without ever making contact with the outside world. They're not myths. They're documented, confirmed. Even today, in an age where we carry cameras in our pockets, if we still can't find people, what makes anyone believe we'd find it? Deforestation isn't driving this thing away. It may be doing the exact opposite. It's cornering it. Logging companies push deeper into the jungle every year, chasing timber, chasing land, chasing profit, cutting straight into places where outsiders have never set foot. That silence isn't relief. It's a warning. Something out there is running out of space, and cornered predators don't retreat quietly. When deep jungle logging crews disappear today, there are no dramatic military cover-ups. There don't need to be. The Amazon has always been very good at hiding its own secrets. Search and rescue teams rarely recover bodies. Instead, they find abandoned heavy machinery, engines still running, reinforced steel doors ripped clean off their hinges, and leading away from the site, pressed deep into the mud, are enormous, backward-facing tracks. We keep telling ourselves that the map is complete, that there's nothing left to discover, but we're not discovering the Amazon. We're trespassing inside it. And with every tree we cut down, one more barrier disappears between us and whatever may be waiting on the other side. We like to believe we're at the top of the food chain, top of the map, that there's nothing left capable of hunting us. Open Google Earth right now, zoom into the Amazon, an endless sea of green, unbroken, silent. But that's not the jungle. That's only the roof. What you're looking at is a blanket of leaves, a canopy, a lid, covering something you can never truly see. No matter how far you zoom in, you have no idea what's breathing beneath it, what's moving, what's waiting, patiently, in the darkness, in the damp, in the silence, between one satellite pass and the next. We mapped the top of the box. We never opened it. Maybe the Mapinguari is real. Maybe it's only a story told by the tribes to keep their children close to the fire after sunset. Or maybe it's both. A story, because that's the only way something like this survives, in a world where most people would never believe it. So if you're alone tonight, the lights are off, and you hear something moving outside that isn't the wind, are you absolutely sure you're at the top of anything? If you want to discover what else might be hiding in the darkness, subscribe to Black Lore. Step into the void with us before it steps out for you.